I love Ireland too. um, so I'm gonna be giving this talk with a PowerPoint, but Martin is here as my co-host, and he's going to be sharing some stuff as we go along as well. Oh, Malawi, nice. Lanzarote, amazing. It's nice to have people across, like, I think we've got at least 4 continents of people here right now.
Wonderful.
So yeah, okay, right. So it's just hit 6. So let's get started, because there's quite a lot that we're going to be doing. Kent, amazing. Kent, no place like Kent. Yeah, let's get started. And I'm gonna put the view. So it's just showing Martin now. I want it just showing me. Multi-speaker, what's this? Okay, I'm trying to do the view so that it's just myself and
Speaker. Maybe, and I'll mute my.
Yeah, maybe try muting and see if it changes over to me. Sorry, guys, about the technology. Me and Martin are an older generation. Pune, India, nice. That's a really sacred place. So, because somehow I made you the co-host, and I think that this is why you're showing as the main. But anyways, we're going to be seeing just mostly the so what happens if I press multi? This looks better. Okay, all right, but it's still I know what I got to do. I need to pin me. Okay, we're both pinned. I think this works cool, right? What do you think? Yeah. Okay. Hey guys, I was just saying, can you type your location in the chat? It's always really nice to know, like, where in the world is everybody? So we're going to be exploring into this. It's so nice to see so many Indians here. I changed the time earlier to make it easier for you guys to come as compared to last week. So we're going to be taking a dive into this sacred feminine, which is almost like, we can visualize today like we're entering into a cave that's just full of all these mysteries and wonders, and we're really communing with the divine feminine energy, the Shakti energy, but we're also looking at it in a structured way. So we've got the presence of the divine masculine as well as the chaos of the divine feminine as well. So let's just start off, while we're waiting for the last people to join. Let's just stand up and let's just move our bodies a little bit. Okay, so let's just do this in a very fluid kind of a way, but let's really move our pelvises and just check, where are we holding tension in our pelvises? Because so often we are, and the tension in the pelvis is very much a reflection of societal conditioning and guilt and shame, and it's a real energy blockage. And when we have energies blocked in the pelvis, it really blocks our whole body and can cause all kinds of problems. So let's just feel that divine feminine fluid energy. Have a move around and see if you can feel it as a pleasant energy, which is coming out of your coccyx, and it's moving up in a sacred dance, almost as if people all over the world have done this sacred dance of activating their sacrum and then sending the energy up their spine. So let's do this, and let's feel this, and let's just feel into the pleasant feeling of being alive and having energy in the body, because indeed it's energy that actually makes us alive, and it's what holds the physical and the spiritual together. So Everyone, if you could just type into the chat where exactly in the world you are, and this is going to be an interactive meeting, right? So I'm going to be asking questions. I'm going to ask you to put 1, 2, 3 in the chat, depending on certain things. It's nice to see. So this is really talking about female pleasure. It's very much geared towards women, but it's amazing to see so many male persons are showing up as well. That obviously you have a keen interest in the sacredness of, you know, pleasure of the woman. And this is really about like going beyond the mundane world and beyond what is, you know, what is educated and taught to us in the name of so-called sex positivity. Because even though sex positivity is great, it's like, if you really understand pleasure, it's just a gateway. It's not the end in and of itself. And that's what we're going to be looking at today, how we can actually be tuning into the deeper levels of sexual pleasure, going beyond the mundane of what most people think that it is. So it's nice to have like so many people from so many places, which include Puebla, Mexico, Australia, New York, Teos, New Mexico, nice, London, Varanasi, Greece, Pune, India, Michigan, USA, Kent, Lanzarote, Malawi, British Columbia, Ireland, India. Amazing, guys. Just really appreciate every one of you that you've spent the time and you're putting in the effort to learn about this really, really important topic. And it's so important to me, way beyond pleasure is important in and of itself, but it's so important to me way beyond that, because when I truly believe that when we as individuals, we all sexually heal, we're absolutely able to heal the entire world. And I do believe that sexual healing is absolutely at the center of, you know, almost like every single problem going on in the world. You may or may not disagree with me. I just invite you to have an open mind. And during the talk, I may say things and you think, oh, you know, I don't agree with her. Don't worry. These things, sometimes they're true on one level and on another level, they're not true. So these are just ideas to play with in our mind and to have fun with. So let's get on to the PowerPoint I've been presenting, which is designed to create a bit of masculine structure around what I'm doing. And do feel free, guys, that if there's any questions, just type them into the chat. And as I get to that point, I will answer any questions that I see. So if a question comes up or a comment or anything, you can either type it in the communal chat or you can send it direct as a message to me, and I will answer it when it's time. So feminine power, pleasure, and purpose. And I really see these as all interconnecting in together, that our power, our pleasure, and our purpose are all connected together. I'm calling this the interconnection of the 3 Ps of the happy woman. And hopefully it's going to become obvious to you. I did not press record, did I? Oh, no, I did press record. Sorry, someone's transcribing. Okay, that's cool. That's fine. So I always have this I didn't press record moment when I did. Okay, the interconnection of the 3 Ps of the happy woman. So moving on. Okay, so this presentation will cover female pleasure from the internal, which is the personal, and the external aspects. But remember that ultimately this is all about you. And if you are blocked, it's your path and your destiny to free yourself through knowledge, discipline, and joy. So I just put here, what is a woman, right? It's a very controversial question. It's supposed to say rocked governments, but I have an easy get out clause, because what I'm saying is that we are the guardians of the spirit and the energy dimensions. So as the guardian of the energy realm, whilst men hold the power in the physical dimension, we as women are guardians of the energetic dimension. Women hold the power in the energy world. In other words, we are not the weaker sex. We just have different powers. Problems that most women don't know how to Yeah, women don't know how to wield those powers, so they end up suffering and unhappy, victimized and suffering, feeling lost in a world that doesn't seem to hold us, where we don't really belong. Sorry, just give me a moment. I need to get this so it's not going through the whole screen. Excuse me. I'll do this. Oh, it's not working. Okay, all right, let's keep going. Okay, truth is, we don't fully belong in the physical dimension as women. We are the gatekeepers to the spirit world, and it's our sacred duty to connect men from the physical into the spiritual. Ultimately, this power comes from our pussies, our vagina, and this is the magic portal to the spirit realm. Men long for pussy because they long for the divine. It's simple. We are the divine. Oh, I'm still, what happened here? Sorry about this. I'm just trying to get this going, so I'm not filling the whole screen, but I can't continue to share. Okay, all right. Okay, so moving on. This makes us incredibly powerful, so powerful. Millions of us were killed for being witches. Powerful if we learn to utilize these energies and traverse this dimension. So energetically, women are far superior. Internal genitals give us much easier access to far more powerful Jing energy than males have, because the energies coming from the outside of the male is an integral internal part of us. We are centripetal, which means we absorb enormous amounts of energy from the external world, something we can use to our advantage if we know how to filter these energies. This is why it's so important for us as women to become energy workers, because otherwise we're getting overwhelmed by all these energies coming from outside. Our polarity is yin below and yang above, meaning we're corresponding with heaven and earth, whereas men are yin above and yang below. So to get deeply into energy cultivation, men need to reverse this. And our wombs, of course, connect us to the ethereal realms, meaning we are created with the direct connection into the spirit realm. So on the spiritual level, this is what sex is. It's men actually plugging into the ethereal spiritual realms through our bodies. So we are the only beings that are capable of ushering new life into the physical dimension as well. So, orgasmic energetic power. Many people think the sexual organs are genitals, but in a healthy and unblocked body, our entirety is a sexual organ. Our main sexual meridian runs straight up the center of our bodies, connecting cervix with heart and brain, sexual with love, creativity, the crystal palace, enlightenment, awakening, and consciousness. It's truly a miracle how our sexual energy naturally flows to awaken our consciousness. And it's a mistake to work with genitals before releasing the blockages in this body and on that meridian, as it can create more blockages. That's why when you have tantric body work, they work on the body and then the genitals after. When we get to the steps of unblocking the genitals, not only are we removing the emotional detritus that is blocking our intuition, we are awakening the divine connection we have into the energy field and the spiritual realm and our true powers. It's sexual, it's spiritual, and it's pure power. Whatever is going on with our sexual functioning is a reflection of our health, which reflects our spiritual reality. So that's the physical, the energetic, the health, the emotional, the spiritual is all interconnected, and it's like different levels of it. We never should ignore what our body is telling us, from something as simple as vaginal dryness, which is a message, a call to go within and to discover ourselves. Sex positivity, I'm going to say it can be so disconnected, it can be so disembodied, and porn is promoting a world that's disconnected from the divine feminine. It's really sex negative reality, which is normalizing the sexual exploitation of women and a disconnect of men. The divine sexual experience smashes the ego, it smashes the false self, and it is why objectification exists. It is a bastion of ego to stop the sacred function of our sexuality. And with spiritual gynecology, which is kind of what we're talking about today, we use the blueprint of pleasure to open ourselves and the world, or to heal ourselves in the world. So this is an example of the meridian I told you about, the conception vessel. It goes from the cervix, or in men, the prostate, up through the heart. It goes up into the brain. So what does this mean? Many women live their lives in a state of victimhood, often feeling at the mercy of emotions and victimized by society. Society may not be the optimal place for us to live, in a sense. However, the problem is in main part caused by playing by the rules of the physical male world, when it's different laws that actually govern us. Take emotions, and the truth is that, yes, many women are kept disempowered by their emotional world, almost as if their feelings are a narcissistic overlord that controls them by sending them crazy. Many other women repress their emotions, making us prone to disease and also cutting out really important part of ourselves that are key to our power. So here's another example of the meridian I just mentioned. It's important to know its connection into the breast, connection into the womb as well, and connection into the middle of the brain. We call it the crystal palace in Taoism. Okay, so the witch, the slut, and the priestess. According to Barbara Ehrenreich, 9 million women were horrifically put to death for being witches. In more recent times, slut shaming has put women down for using their feminine wiles, and for unconscious mass sexual harassment has been used to keep women scared and in victimhood. Even sexual liberation culture has been weaponized against women, by which I mean that the culture of free sex has often led to women's needs being sidelined and our needs for love and safety forgone, as it all becomes an orgy of men not grown beyond adolescence and using women as sex objects. Sorry if that's a bit harsh. I wrote it a little while ago, but in a minute we're going to find it's not the men's fault as well. So the huge amounts of pressure put on women regarding our appearance, it keeps women in a state of disconnect from their power, because we become so self-conscious that it's hard to exist in our inner world. So this inevitably then on some level leads to a shutdown. We're cut off from our magic. We lose our reason to live, and slowly we shut down. Despite the fact that women are far more sexual and orgasmic than men, women are shutting down sexually because we don't know how to use the skills of the priestess in the bedroom. We are getting into abusive and toxic relationships because we don't know how to work with the energies with our partner to get what we need and deserve. And when we shut down, we cut ourselves off from our power and our source energy we need for our health, and we just become victims of a system when we can be living in joy, pleasure, and flow. So the toxic female, and this is a real thing, just as we hear about toxic men, we have toxic women. And this is what happens when we get shut down from our sacred life. And maybe we're trying to be that really good person, but actually we're really passive aggressive, we're bitter, we're inauthentic. This is something we need to do, that we need to own as well. So now let's have a look at Taoist mythology, because I love the figures that appear in Taoist mythology. We're going to discuss a couple of these. And Taoist mythology developed at a time when women experienced extreme oppression, to the extent you could just be put to death by your husband for not pleasing him in bed. This was not about just surviving. It was about thriving in a very hostile world. A legend that arose at the time was the Queen Mother of the West, who was said to have had sex with 5,000 men, taking a drop of the Jing essence of each of these men, and she used it to cultivate immortality and then float off into the clouds to reside on Kunlun Mountain, where she cultivates a garden of immortal peaches. Admired to this day, her female followers long to eat one of these peaches and experience immortality too. So this is a story about cultivating sexual energy, essentially. And today, the Queen Mother is testament to how we as women can cultivate energy to create something beautiful and stand in our pleasure and power, no matter how adverse what is happening in the world around us is. So psychology and the wayward women. The industry of psychology has been created to deal with the non-conforming woman, the magical wise woman, and the witch. Psychology entices women out of their power and keeps them in a constant state of dysregulation, ignorant of who we are and robbed of our power, robbed of our magic. Like a fairy whose wings have been cut off by a cruel master, we are doomed to wander the earth in discomfort. The fast track out of this disconnect is regaining happiness and purpose through mastering our energy field. And when we do this, we step back into our power. So just like men might go and work out in the gym, and probably a lot of us women do too, it's like working with the energy field is like almost what's more important for us women to do, like that kind of a workout, basically. And there are Taoist legends of imprisoned women who are locked in prison, and they cultivate energy to such an extent that they literally fly from their prison cells. And this is an analogy of what we can do with energy cultivation. So no blame, no shame for anyone. So much of the world has existed in a relative state of ignorance, both the sacred powers and duties of masculine and feminine, because this is the mundane world. We must never blame ourselves for where we are. We are just doing our best to survive in a world where we don't have the instruction manuals and tools. And neither should we ever blame men for our plight. The men are just ignorant. They don't know any better. We're all just doing as best we know. And it's not anyone's fault, because as long as we're putting the blame outside ourselves, we're robbing ourselves of our power to change. Because to come into our power, we must move beyond blaming, accepting what is, and using the difficulties as fuel to become happy and successful. And this is the secret of alchemy. So, let's just go back to the last one. It is important to be aware of this, and aware that when we allow our vessels to be used to amplify energy, that we can use that fire of love to be able to heal. So, okay, the dark side versus evil. I was just talking to someone about this the other day. People say the dark side, and there's a good dark side, you know, the shadow side we need. Obviously, there's evil as well. And the thing is, we all have our dark sides, the obscure and the hidden. And these are an important part of who we are as whole human beings. However, there is evil, and these forces do particularly attack women through abuse and exploitation of our energy and our sexuality. And it's important to be aware of this and to protect ourselves. And these forces can inhabit anyone if we do not actively choose to counter it through love and light. If we sink into victimhood, and we can do this to each other, as well as men doing it to us. When amplified with shame and hatred, this can turn into catastrophes, and you see it manifesting in the world as mass exploitation of women, which is happening, for example, in Sudan and Syria today. So it's really important to be aware of these energies and aware of how we as individual persons are actually able to heal ourselves. And when we heal ourselves, we really are healing the whole collective. So the repressed woman. As women, we are told we are too much, we're too loud, we're too aggressive. Our sacred anger is we're told it's a curse. And then we start to tie ourselves up into knots. Women try to be nice to make up for their disconnect. But then we end up as suppressed victims of circumstances. Even the message that moving our hips, wearing that dress, it's an invitation to rape. This is a deep trauma that women are holding collectively, just that message. And female sexuality is incredibly powerful. But we are also so strong as women, it's easy to repress it. When women go through life feeling that gift as a curse, and we start to shut it down, and then we can have this like sense of, oh, I'm feeling so self-satisfied because I've shut down my sexuality. But actually what we're doing is we're cutting ourselves off from health, vitality, destiny, and also our spirituality. And rape and any kind of a sexual violence is almost the ultimate spiritual violation. It's way more than just about our sexuality, because any sexual act that's not in complete congruence with body, mind, and spirit is a violation of the utmost sacred. It's like a violation of the temple, and it starts with our own relationship with ourselves. We all need to own, where might we be actually violating ourselves? It can even be for women pushing a tampon in roughly. Sometimes when one is addicted to porn, this can become a self-violation as well. It's just something we need to look at within ourselves. Are we violating ourselves? Because that's the first place we need to heal, from where we can start healing the collective. So sex positive and porn, it promotes sexual exploitation all too often. And you don't need to sleep with lots of people to get enlightened. Of course you can, I'm not saying what you should and shouldn't do, but this is all about connecting with your body and learning to follow the wisdom of your body. Even pestering a partner to do something, like you seen a sexual fetish on porn and you want to try it or something like this can be deeply traumatic. I've spoken to women that really developed gynecological problems after this. It's something I'm sure none of you guys are doing, but we should be really aware. Any of us, women can do it, men can do it. It can cause a deep trauma, because the ultimate meaning of sexual expression with another person is about the deep connection. It's not about trying out this or that position or technique and so on. So, you know, the core of sexual trauma comes from a disconnect from the sacredness of our sexuality. So that's just the introduction. Okay. And I just wanted to see, do we have any questions? And I want to invite Martin to just see if you have anything to share so far about what we've done, because we're coming into another part. If I haven't, I know I introduced Martin a moment ago, and then more people joined. Martin is actually let me just introduce him properly. So he's my teacher of gynecological body work. Maybe he's going to explain it a bit better than me. You can explain it, but I just want to say Martin is just an absolute pioneer of what he does. I have so much respect for him. I feel like he's bringing a really great perspective into this, which is just going to add to what I say. And he's one of the teachers of Tantra. It's not even Tantra, but one of, I don't know what he wants to call it, of this kind of sexual stuff. Like a lot of teachers are holding on to some kind of baggage, which maybe comes across as like creepiness or toxicity in what they're teaching. And I just love the way that Martin has such a pure heart, and he's so knowledgeable, and he's really knowledgeable both in the Western medicine perspective and from the, you know, more kind of like pleasure-based spiritual perspective. I learned a lot from him, including, if you guys follow me on Instagram, I put a quiz. I learned from Martin about why there's so little research done into female pleasure. But maybe Martin, you could just explain a bit about what you've done, and if you have anything to add about what we've done so far, just let us know.
Absolutely. Can you hear me correctly?
I can. Okay.
Hi, my name is Martin Beaudoin. I live in Vancouver, around Vancouver at the moment, and I travel to Europe quite frequently. My work is pretty broad because I work with, when I left university, I was teaching speech pathology, cognitive psychology, educational psychology, linguistics, French, various topics. And I left university because I wanted to have a more direct impact on women, because I find that to me we have a human right issue on the planet, because half of the population has not been properly cared for in many ways, health-wise, sexually, in terms of power, in terms of spirituality, like in many levels. And so I decided to dedicate the rest of my life pretty much to to correcting that as much as I can. My work at the moment, I do body work. I do manual therapy, myofascial release, osteopathy type of work. But my work is centered around manual gynecology and applied sexology within a more spiritual frame. So, manual gynecology is a set of techniques that I've sort of unearthed, because gynecology used to all be done by hands, by men and women, by doctors, and it all used to be done by manipulation of the tissue. And in the 1920s, when surgery started to be safe, quote unquote, because of the antibiotics and all of those, the gynecologists decided to switch to a surgery-based model. And most of those techniques have been lost. There are still old treaties that are available for these techniques. but they're old. I've read a couple of those treaties, and I've developed some of the technique or expanded some of the techniques. Um, so essentially, I've recreated a new system that is parallel to what used to exist in manual gynecology. And I teach that around the world. At the moment, we teach mostly women. We teach men as well once in a while. Um, there's different reasons, but I'm always open to integrating men in trainings as long as they're safe. Because, of course, when you work with women who have gynecological issues, there's always a potential for abuse because they're going to do anything to heal. It's so dysregulating to have gynecological issues, and 30% of women have gynecological issues at any one point. So it's very we try to really be strong on ethics. So yeah, to me, it's a human right issue because of the spiritual aspect of women, because of their spiritual foundation, men have abused them in many, many ways and neglected the medical system for many reasons for women. We don't know anything about women gynecology, really. When you look at medicine, yeah, of course, you can inject this, you can cut that, but really long-term healing from gynecology is actually pretty rare if you look at results. For example, most cases of incontinence will be treated by doing exercises that are detrimental in the long term. Most uterus prolapse or bladder prolapse will be treated by surgery, which makes things even less mobile, less flowy, and so more painful. So all of that makes it really pushed me to develop a system. In the process, what I realized is that you cannot do this work without involving pleasure. Because first, to really experience pleasure, you have to be healthy physically, spiritually, emotionally. And so you have to work with the whole person. We'll come back to that. But also, there are a lot of pleasure procedures, pleasure points that bring reactions in the body that actually move organs. For example, there's a pleasure technique with the clitoris that will lift the uterus. So if a person has a uterus prolapse, if a woman has a uterus prolapse after giving numerous birth or after doing acrobatics, for example, for many years, sometimes the uterus will descend into the vagina or even outside of the body. And there's a pleasure technique with the clitoris that allows the uterus to go back in place. And then you have to rebalance the fascia that holds the uterus in place. So by knowing well the anatomy and pleasure techniques and making sure that the pleasure lands well with the person, you can actually heal very, very important issues through pleasure. So I've developed a system like that I teach across the world. And I practice, of course, I offer those treatments most of the time in Canada, but September, October, my partner and I, Ashley Rose, is my partner. We're going to Europe for a month, and we're going to offer treatments there. We're going to offer also training. We have an upcoming training in London in October, the first module. So that's what I do in life. Um, the spiritual aspect for me is very important. You cannot do this work from just a manual therapy perspective because first, I mean, I was talking with one of my close friends who's very much into AI, and he says you have the perfect job. You cannot be replaced because, of course, you could have a big vibrator, you could have a robot that learns all the techniques, but you cannot actually just do the technique manually without connecting with the heart and moving the energy between the heart. Or, for example, I was working with somebody yesterday who couldn't feel pleasure around the urethra. And by working on the throat chakra, I was able to bring her to have more pleasure in the U spot, the urethra. And so there's different aspects like that that robots will never be able to do, because from a science perspective, we don't fully understand what energy is. And so there's a lot that that we have to discover and uncover and bring to the world in this field.
Thank you so much, Martin. I just want to express so much gratitude to you for what you do for women. And towards a little bit later on, we're going to be specifically talking about the different pleasure spots, and we're going to be talking like I know you have some presentations to make. Anyways, we'll find a fluid way to fit this in. But I was thinking we could go over each pleasure spot and have a discussion about the pleasure spot from your perspective, from my perspective. I think that would be fantastic. So thank you for what you've shared. Thank you so much for the work you do. So as Martin said, he is doing a bodywork training here in London. Whoever's in London, this is for women only. That's in October at some point. He also gives bodywork sessions whenever he's around. I will always get one from him. They're fantastic. I can't recommend him highly enough, you know, top star review. So yeah, and you can always find him on Facebook. I think that might be the best place to find him, Martin Beaudoin. Find him on Facebook. You can do a post in my Facebook group, Martin, so that everybody can find you there and find out a bit more about what you're doing. And maybe we can even do a presentation in my Facebook group about your upcoming training in London, so that we know. Okay, so right, let's get on to the next part of the slides. Okay, did any questions come up? Oh, let me just check. Feel more than free, guys, to ask any questions. Oh yeah, no, that's just Martin. Listen, I'm just curious as to the guys here, the men who've come here. Okay, what do you think might be the main cause, if we're looking at this from like a kind of spiritual, sexual, emotional sort of level? What do you